welcome to my channel, and today I'm going to be telling you about the most common mistakes any homeschooling parent is doing while teaching his or her child. Now, this is a very emotional video for me because to be able to do that video, I have to go and analyze by myself what kind of mistakes I, as a homeschooling parent, as a homeschooling mom, did while teaching my children. And it was super hard because you have the best intentions to educate your child, and when you look back you think, well, gosh, was I such a horrible mother? I just tried to do the best thing for my child, but actually I did make quite a few mistakes, and I'd like to share that experience with you, that analysis that I've made with you, so hopefully you didn't make the same mistakes that I did. So, mistake number one: I was teaching my child for my own good, for my own happiness, for my own satisfaction. What do I mean by that point? We very common get into that trap, really, when we're just trying to do the best thing we can to educate your child. And these days, homeschooling is reasonably common. 10 years ago, homeschooling was weird, Oh my God, you're homeschooling your child. There's something wrong with your child. Nowadays, it's reasonably common. So we now have got so many resources. We've got so many YouTube channels. We've got so many courses. We've got so many schools, outschooling resources that can help your child. And what I end up being, I end up subscribing my child to every single course possible, because I live in Oxford, and Oxford is very open to the whole homeschooling idea. And because I was doing that, my child was exhausted, but I was doing it for myself. I was trying to make a point to my mom, to my relatives, to my husband, that I've done the right thing. Look, my child is a year in front in literature or in English. He's really good at physics. Look, we're achieving this and that. But I was forgetting the most important thing about homeschooling is the emotional happiness of your child. And if you have that model, and your child is going to this class and this class and this class, and your child is unhappy, I'm afraid that model doesn't work. So you try it, but the first question you need to ask yourself, which I wasn't asking myself, is my child happy? How is he feeling? And if he's very nervous, is he becoming OCD, a bit neurotic, he's got some tics or whatever it is, then ask yourself, is that really a working model? Is that really a working model, homeschooling model for my child, that educational model? Or is it the working model for myself? Whom am I trying to make happy? Myself or my child? It's a super important question. Don't repeat my mistakes, and ask yourself right now, today, that question. Now, let's go to point number 2. Oh gosh, it's super hard to talk about that, really. To realize your own mistakes. That is water. I just like drinking from nice crystal glasses, because I just genuinely believe life is too short to drink from some plastic cups or something. Anyway, I did a lot of emotional shouting. So I shouted a lot of my children. And why did I do that? Because I was not taking care of my emotional state. So first mistake was I didn't really take notice of my child's emotional state. Now I didn't pay attention to my emotional state. So I was overworking. I was doing too much. I planned too much stuff. I was educating my child too much. I was trying too hard. And instead of taking a break, instead of taking a rest, instead of making the lessons shorter, all I did is just I overextend myself. I got exhausted, I got tired, and then woof. And I just used to shout, scream, whatever, and it just wasn't working. So if you feel you're about to explode, take a step back. Go into another room, shout outside, go get some fresh air, stop whatever you're doing, because it won't be fruitful, it won't be successful, it just won't work. And just change whatever you're doing. Stop your academic learning, and just go have a coffee with your child. He will have a babycino, you'll have a coffee, and that will bring so much joy to your day and your child's day, instead of you just trying too hard to be this perfect homeschooling mother and fulfilling this role as a teacher. You're allowed to have a break, you're allowed to have some rest. Allow yourself some rest, and when you're planning your day, when you're planning your homeschooling routine, your timetable, write down your own rest time. It's really important. Now, oh gosh, point number 3, I was a total control freak. Now that comes from my background, being a perfectionist mom. And now, since I taken the role of being a homeschooling mother, I didn't become just a mother, I became also a teacher to my children, which means I had this double extra work, which I needed to do perfectly. So I end up controlling every single aspect of my child's life, and I just was not giving my children some air, some space, which is really important. I was controlling every single element, how they were writing, how they were drinking, how they were reading, all these different things. So I just became a total control freak, and I wasn't happy with that role, and they weren't happy with that role. So stop being a control freak. If you're feeling the same way that I'm just described you, that I felt, just ease off the control. Stop being a control freak, and it will do all the good for your child. Now let's talk to point number 4, which is a very valuable point. I didn't give my children a chance to make a mistake. I did not really grasp the whole concept. I didn't explain to my children what the mistake actually is. So now I understand, and I explain to my children now with the new knowledge that I have, that mistake is generally just a light that shines on the area that you need to learn a little bit more. So before, I was just shouting and correcting them because they made some mistakes. But actually, in day-to-day life, we can't do anything without making a mistake. If you just take any kind of activity, if you learn to knit, if you learn to cook, if you learn to ride a bike, you can't go without making a mistake. So how do you learn to ride a bike? You go from not knowing how to do it, from one fall and another fall and another fall, and then on a 10th, 11th attempt, you control that balance, and then you finally learn how to ride a bike. So from A to B, it takes you 10 mistakes really, or 10, 20, 100, to learn how to do something new. And it could be with any subject, right? So why don't we allow our children to just make those mistakes, knowing that they won't be punished for them? So please don't make my mistake. Don't punish your child for their mistakes. Explain to them that mistakes are normal. They're just part of our learning process. That's all. And you're allowed not to know something. You're allowed not to understand, fractions from day one. It's okay. It's okay not to know how to convert decimals to percentages from day one. You will make mistakes, and it's okay. And that will make you great, because you will treat mistakes the way they should be treated. It's just part of life. It's just part of life. It just shows you that you need to learn that subject a little bit more. So I was not like that, unfortunately, and I didn't give my child the right to make a mistake, and I didn't explain what mistakes are actually. So, number 5, my mistake number 5. Oh gosh, my lessons were way too long. So coming back to my perfectionism, I was this perfect mother. I write down a list, I plan my day. Let's do English, let's do science, let's do geography, let's do history. And we had to do it because at the end of the day, I had to tick those perfect boxes to confirm myself how perfect I bloody am. Well, guess what? None of the days went out perfectly, and some subjects took longer than I anticipated. So actually, the shorter the lesson is, the better it is for your child. I'd rather, going back to it now, repeat the same lesson. So let's say I have geography or science every single day, but instead of 40 minutes, only for 20 minutes. So if at school, do you think at school a teacher who's got 30 to 32 children in a class, do you think that teacher will have 20 minutes dedicated just to your child? No, 2 minutes maximum. So why do you think you should take over your child's life and teach them geography for 40 minutes? 20 minutes is enough. 15 minutes is enough. You studied a little bit, you watched a little 5 minutes video, maybe for some visual concept of what you were talking about before, and that's it. Just leave it. Just give your child's brain time to adjust that information, to soak it all in, and then repeat it the next day, and then learn something new the day after, and so on and so forth. And that will be much more productive way of learning. My lessons were way too long, as that's video, probably it's 10 minutes now anyway. So don't make your lessons too long. That was my mistake. Now, last one. Super important again. I did not teach my child how to self-educate himself. Self-educate, that's probably the right way to put it. I didn't teach my child how to learn and get some information out. So what do I mean by that point? So let's say you're a grown-up person and you want to learn how to knit, or you want to learn astrology, or I don't know, aromatherapy, or you want to become, I don't know, a builder, and you want to know how to lay bricks. What would you do? What would you do as a grown-up person? How to do mosaic or something like that? Well, you look on the internet, you Google it, you find some courses, you find some books in the library, you have a look on YouTube video how it's done, and so on and so forth. So this is the tools that we as a grown-up people have if we want to know, to go from not knowing something to know something, right? If we want to learn some information. So we've got the tools available to us how to get that information out, right? So that information goes through us and becomes our knowledge. Well, that is the same tools you have to learn and teach your child how to educate yourself, right? So how do you do that? You just give your child some space and give him a chance to learn about some subject by himself. So let's say you're talking about geography, and you can say, okay, Billy, let's go and James, I want you to learn about Africa. So, or I want you to learn about Mexico. So there's a YouTube, there's your laptop, you can go to the library, let's have a project. You create your own project. And even if it's not going to be perfect, come back to the point about mistakes, right? Your child will be learning how to get the information. That is super important skill, because once he knows how to do that, he can basically train himself to any subject, because at the end of the day, you don't want to hold his hand all his life. You want to give him enough tools so he can move on with his life by himself. And that is really important. I hope that those points that I just said to you were very valuable and helpful for you. And if they were, please push the button right now, subscribe to my channel, push another finger, the button right now, click it, and like my video, and that will encourage me to make more videos for you. And thank you so much for watching me today, and I love you loads. Bye!